Anglers Sports Society tournament. It may surprise you to know that anglers are not competing against one another. Instead, they're competing against the bass. That is, unless, however, they're competing against Mother Nature. And today, you're going to see a good example of what kind of hands Mother Nature can deal. We'll also show you a seldom-seen side of professional tournament angling. It's a great show, and you're going to enjoy it. I'm Ray Scott. The Bassmasters will be right back.
New York St. Lawrence Seaway, the giant navigable river connecting the ships of many nations with the ports of commerce of the Midwest. It's a place rich in history, an area that once was the fashionable international playground of the wealthy, and also a favored place for fishermen who came to catch the fabled giant muskies of the St. Lawrence. The scenic islands and clear waters of the St. Lawrence are still a summer playground for many, those who still spend their summers here, and the tourists who come to capture the beauty and history of the area. Like Bolt Castle, the 16th century style castle German immigrant George Bolt was building on Hart Island for his wife, an unprecedented sanctuary that was never completed due to her early death. But it's a different kind of fishermen now who cast the shorelines and weed-filled bays of the St. Lawrence. These are bass fishermen. The time is fall. The event, the $140,000 Bassmaster New York Invitational Tournament. The first day started normally with no real hint of what was to happen. Then the winds came, and with them giant wild waves that shook even the most seasoned bass anglers. This stretch of water close to the weigh-in area in Clayton, New York is protected, shielded from the wind and waves on the river and giant Lake Ontario. How bad is it on the big water? A normal one-hour trip turned into a 4-hour nightmare for many. 12 contestants sacrificed their catches and called for trailers. Some anglers reported riding huge waves and looking down from the tops at exposed bottom in 12 and 15-foot deep water. They are glad the day is over.
All right, we got a limited bass for Jimmy Houston with, let's see, that's 8 pounds and 5 ounces. Jimmy, I can remember that not too long ago, you won a tournament here, and you had an experience that was unparalleled in bad weather. What was it like today out there?
Well, it really is not too much different than what it was when we had Hurricane Gloria here 2 years ago. The waves are probably about 8 foot or so down there around Point Peninsula. From there on back to here is pretty bad. It's not too nice out there in the river, but it's bad out there. But I didn't break my lower unit off. I brought a little bit bigger boat. I got the biggest boat that Ranger made. They make a 20-footer. It's a 395 SF or VS or rough RF or rough water or something, but it's a 20-foot boat, and it'll come back in it without any problem. You just, you just pray all the way.
I wish you well tomorrow. All right, thank you, Jimmy Houston.
And another angler who made the big trip is not only glad to be back, but proud of his catch.
All right, next man coming up is Mr. Ken Cook. And the weight, 15 pounds, 14 ounces. Let's give it a good hand. Congratulations, you pulled into the lead, Ken.
Ray, I'm just glad to get here. You know, it's pretty rough in places, and I'm just glad to get in with the fish I caught.
Well, you're right near the end of this first day, and you've taken the lead, and that's an outstanding bunch of fish.
Well, I didn't catch a lot of fish. The ones I caught were good ones, and I was just lucky to get the right bites today.
We wish you well tomorrow. Good luck to you, Ken Cook. Nice hand, folks. He's our new leader.
Stay tuned as the catching and the weather continues. The Bassmasters will be right back from Clayton, New York, of the New York Invitational. Late last night and early this morning, BASS Tournament Director Dewey Kendrick considered putting Lake Ontario off limits for safety reasons, even canceling today's competition. But the winds are forecast to calm. This area of the country is known not only for great smallmouth bass fishing, but largemouth as well. The anglers are fishing crankbaits, spinnerbaits, plastic worms, and jigs. For many, like Georgia's Cliff Craft, the smallmouth have come easy. But once he catches a 5 bass limit, he leaves the area and goes to his largemouth hole, seeking bigger bass for the scales. The second day is more productive for many Bassmasters.
13 pounds, 6 ounces, and that does clearly put Steve in the lead for the tournament at the moment. Congratulations, Steve. And you're going to do the same thing tomorrow with weather permitting?
I hope so. My fish didn't bite too good this morning, so we went to my partner's fish and did real well on those, so I was real lucky.
Well, you went to your partner's fish. How'd your partner do with his fish?
He did real good.
Is he behind you?
Yeah, he did better than I did.
Well, who is he?
Roger Farmer.
All right, we'll see him in just a minute. In fact, here comes Roger Farmer right now. Roger Farmer with a limited bass. And Roger hails from the state of Georgia. And your weight yesterday, Roger, was sixth place. Sixth place he was with 13-13. And watch the scales, people. The largest catch of the day. 15 pounds, 14 ounces. And we have a new leader once again. I believe I'm right on that. Am I not, Bob Cobb? Roger, tell us quickly. Pull a couple of these bass out of here. Let me hold one of them, and let's hold. These are beautiful largemouth. Now, all largemouth bass today, no smallmouth. He went after largemouth.
And yesterday's leader comes to the scales.
Now, the lead of our tournament, Ken Cook, who yesterday brought in a 15 pounds and 14 ounces, has another limited bass. Watch the scales, folks. We got a man who'll pull back in the lead for sure. 14 pounds, 7 ounces. Let's give him a great hand. Clearly your leader. Pull two big ones out of there. Oh, boy. Look here. Smallmouth and largemouth. All right. Folks, there are two fine specimens, and he's got a whole basket full of them. Beautiful fish. I tell you, that's what it takes. Boys, the name of the game is consistency, and Ken Cook is on a roll. If he can pull this performance tomorrow, he'll walk away with big bread. Can you tell us anything about what happened? Did you fish the same water today as you did the first day?
No, I changed around a little bit today, Ray, because the weather was predicted. I stayed a little closer today and fished a little different. And the fish didn't average quite as good, but I guess I'll have to take it.
You ought to be real happy.
I'm having a really good time because I like catching these fish. You know, I'm fishing real hard, but I'm catching quite a few fish, and it's great. I love catching these fish.
Could you tell us anything about what you're using? I know everybody else knows what you're doing. Why don't you tell us?
Well, I'm using a bait that's got some metal and some plastic in it.
All right, that's a big help. That could be a hook at anything, right? Well, thanks a lot. I knew you'd help me know what you were doing.
Life on the BASS tournament trail is different from a regular 9-to-5 job. Different for the angler and his family, particularly when the family includes 20-month-old twin boys named Hunter and Tanner Cook, who travel to all the tournaments with their dad and mom, Ken and Tammy.
You know, Ken, for most of the people who watch, the Bassmaster on television or, read Bassmaster magazine, I'd say they have a lot different idea of what the professional full-time touring pro goes through at the normal day. I mean, they think they, run up and down the lake and come back and put new line on and sharpen hooks and go to bed, but you have kind of a different situation here, don't you?
Well, we've got a family affair, I guess you'd call it. It's a struggle to get everything that has to be done involved with professional fishing and also have a family life. It's tough, to have the family with us at times, but it would be much tougher to have them at home and me be here alone because of those pressures. And so it's tough either way you go at it, I suppose. But for us, this is the best way.
Well, not too many families have a set of twins with them, too. And they're how old now?
They're a year and 8 months.
And they've got 50 or 60,000 miles on them already.
At least.
Well, it's great while you still can, to be able to take them with you. But, Tammy, you've got a kind of a different situation. Instead of, sitting on the bank and waving bye-bye in the morning as so many of the wives do, you kind of have a double-handed job after that, don't you?
Well, in the morning, when the tournament starts, me and the boys get up. We take Ken and launch him, and then we come back and try and go back to sleep. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. But sometimes it's tough getting them up early and going. But now that they're older, it's easier.
I bet you've had some real experiences with this group, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, we could take up most of your time.
Tell me one or two of them.
Well, just like yesterday, I was in here putting on my makeup, and they were in there brushing their teeth in there in the bathroom. And I heard Hunter says, "Bubba's feet wet." And I look around the corner, and they're both got the water running, standing in the sink, the lavatory, and water is all over the floor, and their shoes and socks, and they're wet up to their knees. I was ready to wring their necks. They find Dad's worms.
Yeah, They like worms. They don't care much about the color. It doesn't matter.
Do they help you with your tackle?
They're quite helpful as spooling line and things of that nature.
All Ken's tools.
Ken, you had, just a tremendous year fishing, and how difficult is it really for you to concentrate, thinking of all the things you have to do to win these tournaments, but to concentrate coming back to what you'd say a little bit different than most people would?
It sometimes gets to be, as I say, hard to get everything done that has to be done. Tammy's an awful lot of help for me, and this is what it's really all about. It doesn't make a difference whether you fish for a living or if you go to the office every day. This is what life's really all about, and it's all worth the pain and strain, to be able to see these guys as they grow up and then see them recognize what's really real about life and what makes it go on, and to recognize the challenges that you got to go through to get through life, and to accept whatever it takes that comes along and make the best of it. And so it's very rewarding, to have the opportunity to have them with me.
Hey, they know what it's about. In the mornings, I'll tell them, I say, all right, when we take our nap, when we get up, we're going to go see Dada. Dada, fish? I said, yeah, Dada's going to have fish. Bass? I said, yeah, he's going to have bass. And I mean, every boat is Dada, of course, when we get to the weigh-in. But they spot Ken and where they go. And they think it's really neat. Bass.
The Bassmasters will be right back from Clayton, New York. Don't go away. Final day. And although winds are forecast to once again be strong, several anglers opt to make the big run. Ken Cook is fishing out on Lake Ontario near Henderson Bay. He reached his fish in an hour, but by mid-morning, the wind and waves are once again a nightmare. He was on his way back to the weigh-in area by noon.
All right, folks, here comes Clifford Kraft of Georgia. Clifford, what place were you in? You were in 5th place, I believe, when the day started.
That's right, Ray.
Watch your weight. Let's check this as a marvelous catch again, and your weight, 13 pounds, 4 ounces, 13.4. Now, listen, I got to ask you something. That's a tremendous catch, and, of course, you already had 26 pounds and 7 ounces before today. What were you doing different today?
Well, I done basically the same thing, Ray. I caught 13 pounds every day of the tournament. And I hung around on my best spot today, perhaps a little bit too long, because I only had maybe 10 pounds when I left there. And then I went to one of my other favorite spots on the way back, and I caught one about 2.5 pounds, one of those bass there. And about 3 casts later, I hung another large fish. I don't know it was a bass, but it might have been.
What were you doing exactly? What technique were you using? What lure?
Well, I was using a favorite pike lure. It's called a jig with a frog on the back of it.
Good old-fashioned number 11 Junker Josh.
You got it, and especially when you put that blue frog on there, that blue pork, they seem to be attracted to blue.
And you use what weight lure or what jig were you using?
It was a 5/16 Stanley jig.
Were you fishing it any way different than usual?
No, not really. No, just throw it out. And I was fishing some boulders that was underwater, some white spots is what I call them, but they were boulders where the grass wouldn't grow. And I'd try to make a cast past the white spot and then let the jig fall down in there. Sometimes it fell down and a bite happened. Sometimes it was a bass, sometimes it was a pike.
All right, but anyway, you had 13 pounds more.
You got it, Ray, and proud of those.
All right, let's give a nice hand, folks. Clifford Kraft from Sugar Hill, Georgia. He is now, I'm told, I was just informed that he has now moved into the lead.
And did Roger Farmer's fish cooperate?
Roger Farmer, folks, if you'll notice, the scoreboard is in 2nd place. He needs just about 10 pounds to take the lead. Watch the scales. He's short. 4 pounds, 11 ounces, and that won't get it. That's going to drop you out of 2nd place.
Well, I knew I was going to do that, Ray. My fish just didn't bite today. My partner caught 4, and there were some other boats in there, and they caught some fish, but I reckon the front and the strong wind changing direction just, they just wouldn't bite. I couldn't see them.
You could see the bass?
Oh, we could see the fish, but they wouldn't bite. We tried everything we knew to try.
I had a guy this morning at breakfast. We were there trying to keep warm, and one guy said he believed you'd pull this thing off today.
Ray, if the front hadn't came in, there's no doubt in my mind I would have won the tournament.
Well,
but, that's just fishing.
Well, you may yet. You got a chance, but let's wait. We got one more guy coming in just a few minutes.
And now, yesterday's leader, Ken Cook.
Now, folks, our leader in this tournament, starting this morning with 30 pounds, 5 ounces, is Ken Cook. And Ken Cook, I'm told, has another fantastic limit of bass to go with his 30 pounds, 5 ounces of yesterday. Watch the scales closely, folks. We may have our leader. 14 pounds, 1 ounce, and I believe this ought to do it, Kenny. This, my friend, that's doing it professional style.
Well, Ray, it hadn't been easy. It's been not boring at all in the boat riding and all, and I've caught a lot of fish. I've had a great time. I had good partners. You know, they wouldn't, if it hadn't been for partners letting me go the places I was going, that, you know, it wouldn't have been possible for me to catch these fish, and I'd just like to thank them and the people that make the equipment I've been riding in.
Tell us, if you would, what lure you using to catch this fabulous string of bass?
Ray, I caught every one of the fish that I weighed in except one on a Gold Eagle spinnerbait, naturally.
Well, that was a bait that I believe you invented along with some friends of yours in Oklahoma.
That's right. Yeah, it's a bait I've been playing with for a long time, catching fish on it, and
the name of it again is?
It's a Gold Eagle. The one I've been fishing is a prototype tandem willow leaf, and the bait's part of the key, I think, but the location of the fish was another, and there was a lot of fish where I was fishing. They were in there, I think, to feed up for fall. Yeah. And the smallmouth stayed active with the cold front, and I think that's what helped me win.
And where were you fishing? Where exactly?
Well, I was fishing out in the lake, Ray, on a bay off the main lake, and I just really don't say where. I don't think it really matters. Back in the bay, it seemed like where these big smallmouth are coming in to feed, and where there's rock and grass mixed on flat points is where I was kind of fishing 5 to 7 foot.
I think you've won you another championship, Ken Cook. Congratulations to you.
Thanks, Ray. It's been a long time since I've been up here as a winner. Now, hopefully it holds up. It's been almost 4 years, and I don't forget how it feels, and it feels good again.
Congratulations. Nice hand, folks, for Ken Cook, our champion.
Although Ken Cook has won BASS events, this is his first invitational win in several years.
Ken Cook, our champion. $20,000 boat, $13,000 cash. Our congratulations to you, Ken Cook. You did it, boy.
Thanks, Ray. It really feels good again. It's been a while since I've been up here as winner, and it feels just as good now as it ever did.
4 years ago, you took home the championship, as I recall. Where was that? I can't recall.
Well, I won Super Bass. The first time you had a Super Bass tournament, I won that one. That felt pretty good. And
$100,000, as I recall.
Yeah, about at that.
Well, you got you. What do you think about that beautiful plaque? That's a new design that Dewey and the artists and come up with.
Well, it's always great. You know, it's what it stands for, but you know, the object itself in the plaque is beautiful, but it's really it's what it stands for. What it really boils down to. It signifies the competition of the tournament itself, and having caught more fish than anybody else. And that's what It's not that I'm trying to catch fish more than anyone else is. I want to catch another fish. And that's why I think that I caught so many fish, is because I wanted to just catch one more.
I was trying to explain to people earlier that this is not a competition between man and man, but a competition between man and a fish.
That's true, and in this case, it was a competition between man and weather, because we haven't had the greatest weather as far as fishing goes, or as far as boat riding goes, and so it's been a real challenge test of man and equipment, and I'm just glad to come out on top.
All the best to you, Ken Cook. A nice hand, Ken Cook, our champion, folks.
And why did Ken decide to make the long, hard run to Lake Ontario? There was a reason.
Well, I was fishing primarily smallmouth bass, and I had some largemouth too, but we've had a real hard cold front come through here. I was catching them primarily with a real fast retrieve. This bait with a willow leaf runs very true through the water as I retrieve it real fast. That seemed to trigger the bass, the largemouth and the smallmouth bass, earlier in the week. But as we had a real hard cold front come through here last night, and the water temperature dropped from, say, 63 or 4 degrees down to about 60. And I suspected going into today, this is the coldest night last night we've had in this area, and I suspected that the largemouth bass would be less aggressive today because of the dropping water temperature than the smallmouth bass. I thought it would affect the smallmouth bass less because they're more cold water acclimated, and I didn't think that they would be as negatively affected by the cold front. And evidently that was correct, because the guys that were catching the largemouth bass didn't do as well today, and I had a good bag of smallmouth.
And now it's time for the Pros Pointer, the how-to section of the Bassmasters, brought to you by A.C. Delco.
In picking a bait, say a spinnerbait, for fishing in any kind of conditions, I look at two factors. One is what is a visible color, and what does the fish seem to react to under that set of conditions from my experience. This particular bait I chose to fish in this clear water in New York for smallmouth for two reasons. One, it has red in it, which red from the color selector is the most visible color, and my experience with smallmouth bass, which is what I caught here primarily, tells me that they like chartreuse, and so I have a red and chartreuse combination spinnerbait. Kind of a weird combination, which in itself is probably a beneficial thing because it's something that the fish haven't seen before, and this is what I caught all my fish here. I've also caught a lot of fish in a lot of other conditions, or a lot of other places with similar conditions. The clear water seems to be one of the best conditions, one of the best baits I've come up with lately for clear water is this red and chartreuse color combination.